All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Got a dog who wants to be on the floor. It's a lovely, comfortable temperature day. It's not crazy. It's like 71 degrees in here. It's perfect, finally. So, people are saying another hype date for BBBYQ is Monday because it'll be 3 years after Ryan Cohen's change of position in Bed Bath because of some sort of rule about 5% holders changing their position by 50% or more and then being able to utilize nulls, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. The one thing that has me most confident about the Bed Bath thing, people don't really talk about it as much, is that IRS document that was unearthed a few months ago that had the name 2023-0930, just like DK Butterfly. And in it has to do with a butterfly transaction where some entity, an acquirer, is asking the IRS, hey, if we do these things, can we, what can we get away with, basically? And the IRS gives them a very detailed answer without using the name of any of the companies. It happens to be a bankrupt company that's getting acquired. And then the acquirer wants to be able to absorb the tax, the nulls, and the equity, and how they go about doing that. And in that IRS response is, hey, you know, you put this stuff into a nonprofit holding company, all the equity, and then eventually you replace that equity with shares of the acquiring company, and then you replace the bonds with shares of the acquiring company, and then a waterfall of cash goes through. It does so tax-free. The shill folks, they want to be like, that has nothing to do with Bed Bath. Okay, well then, who is it? If it has nothing to do with BBBYQ, which company is it that's doing this butterfly transaction? And if it's a butterfly transaction, why'd they call it Project Butterfly? Like, I think I talked about this the other day. The show Patriot, not Patriot, Peacemaker, which came out of the better version of Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, it was Project Starfish. They fought a big giant starfish. And then in Peacemaker, they're like, you're going to be part of Project Butterfly. And he's like, you guys are so lame, you literally name these things after exactly what we're doing. So am I fighting a giant butterfly? And they're like, no. It turns out that he's fighting butterflies, Project Butterfly. They're being literal. And so why would someone be so literal in the bankruptcy court calling DK Butterfly Project Butterfly if they're not doing a butterfly transaction? And if a butterfly transaction with part of their name pops up on the IRS website asking about a whole merger acquisition and a butterfly transaction, like, why not? So that's the thing that has me most confident out of all of this. But nothing has happened yet, so here we sit. Twiddling and twiddling and twiddling and twiddling and twiddling and twiddling. Other side of things, the MMTLP, MMAT side, MMAT, of course, go doing their own bankruptcy. MMTLP is tied up with their shares being private, but then losing a huge chunk of their oil leases kind of nefariously via what seems to be unscrupulous actions by the University of Texas Board of Governors. And so there's lawsuits going, there's Freedom of Information Act requests, there's all sorts of things coming out. And I can't remember who posted it, but somebody got a hold of the trade data for Torchlight leading up to and past the merger with Metamaterials, and showed that basically the SEC did not care about failures to deliver. Not only that, but seemed to be helping shorts continue to avoid making good on their obligations. Basically, you create fake shares, we'll figure out how to hide them for you. So a lot of that stuff seems to be coming out. I don't think the lawsuits the SEC have against Berta and Papadopoulos are going to go well. So, yeah. So here we are. On that note, on the national note, inflation is way up 0.9% this month. It's going to go up even higher next month as the tariffs are slapped on this month. Food prices are leading the way. Basically, the only thing that's keeping inflation from going even higher is the fact that oil prices are dropping. But oil prices drop as you go into a recession. So we're shutting down oil wells like crazy across the United States. This whole drill baby drill thing ain't happening because there's no money to be made in it. And then the other news is Trump's pick EJ and EJ Antiloni, whatever his name is, the guy that's supposed to now take over the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He is a January 6th insurrectionist. He is a Nazi. I mean, I don't use that term lightly with him. Like, he literally does his podcasts. Like, I got some things behind me. People put things behind me, and the things behind me have meaning, right? Like over this shoulder is where Scott Adams called me an idiot, right? Got some gifts from family. I've got some cool shit like a set list from Queensryche. I've got a political poster that I made for an election for a racist asshole that ran for office a bunch. I got a cool poster from Seattle Art Expo a long time ago. Like, you put the things behind you because when people see them, right? He has a giant print of the Bismarck, which was the pride and joy battleship of Adolf Hitler. I don't know what people who are like maritime historians or aficionados or like totally autistic for boats would put a giant image of the Bismarck behind them unless they're trying to signify like, hey, I'm a Nazi. That's this guy. And recording surface of him wanting to get rid of Social Security, basically saying like, our population is getting smaller, we're not going to pay for Social Security. Our population is not getting smaller. We grow. We don't have the same birth rate we used to, but we take in immigrants and our population grows. Just 5 years ago, the population was 330 million. Now we're at 340 million people. So, if these Nazi dudes want to kick everyone out of the country, yeah, our population will shrink and we won't be able to pay for things like Social Security, and then our old people will be eating cat food and living in cardboard boxes while they fight for an opportunity to be a greeter at Walmart. That's kind of our future here. Other terrible news, Trump is meeting tomorrow with Putin in Alaska to discuss Ukraine and other things. Putin's bringing along his economics minister, which is kind of a weird gesture. The Russians are already doing a lot of propaganda suggesting that Trump is going to give Russia Alaska. Trump already made the slip of the lip by saying he's going to go meet Putin in Russia. So Russians have seized on that one. Alaska being Russia's has been a very large part of their propaganda for the past, decade or so. Putin's people have revised history claiming that when the United States purchased Russia from Alaska, that it actually was not a purchase, it was a 100-year lease, kind of like what ended up becoming for Panama Canal or Hong Kong, but it's not. It was straight up purchase, and it's not Russia's anymore. So they're Russian official Russian Twitter handles, Telegram channels, etc. keep posting things like historic Russian Orthodox churches in Alaska, trying to be like, this is ours, this is ours, this is ours. So if you're Alaskan, just know that Trump may try to give you away to Russia. So a part of the deal they seem to be making is allowing Russian companies to come into Alaska to exploit Alaskan resources. We're talking mineral rights, diamonds, fishing, crabs, etc. Real estate, probably. It's kind of gross. So I guess we'll see kind of where it goes, but there aren't really any experts out there who are like, this is a good idea. If Trump really wants that Nobel Peace Prize he's been begging for, like he's like, oh, I deserve it. He could haul Putin's ass to the International Criminal Court. Just take it right there. People are like, yeah, well, maybe we'll give it to him. So if he really wants it, Trump, you can just haul Putin to the National Criminal Court from there. So, anything else I want to add there, Floor Dog? No? Just sleeping hard down there? Okay. How about we hit the button? Let's hit the button. Where's the button? There's the button. Boop, boop. Alright, how about Rebel first? And the Orioles took the series against the Mariners. Today was an ugly one. I was keeping up to date, and on the 6th it was like 5-0. Mariners were super hot. Didn't do so hot against the Orioles today. It happens. The Mariners could really use Bryce Miller back. Evans is not a major league caliber pitcher. So they need Bryce Miller back. He's doing starts down in Tacoma. It's coming. How about Rebel gave themselves the first place prize as well. Chris Taylor second. Jake Geyser number one. No, you're number 3. Polestar, yo. Polestar, more Knoll talk today. New date August 16th. Yep. So it's August 16th is when Ryan Cohen started selling all of his stuff 3 years ago, and then the price of Bed Bath crashed, wiping out Houston's beautiful options play that he had. And, oh well. Anyway, there's a rule in there that if a 5% holder's ownership changes by 50% or more, then Knowles can't be carried forward unless the holdings go for 3 years, and I don't know. Just sit and wait. I want it to be done. Let me show you something. Let me show you something about how the U.S. is being destroyed, right? Oops, that is not. There we go. Okay. All right, so go there, go Chrome. There. Okay. So this is Bitcoin in euros, right? It's 101,531.96. It's up 12.4% on the year. So you're like, oh, okay. So since January 1st to today, it's up 12.46%. You go, okay. You can see the dip in there where the tariffs and everything was making the SPY drop, and you follow that graph. Okay. Let's look at it in francs. Swiss franc. Year to date, it's up 12.55%. So basically parity, 12.54, 12.55 Swiss francs. You got that same dip, it climbs up there. Okay, let's look at it in USD. Okay, year to date, it's up 26.52%. You see that it's up like twice as much in dollars as it is in Swiss francs and euros. That's because the US dollar is collapsing and collapsing really, really hard. So when people are like, "Oh, Bitcoin is a inflation hedge." The only reason we have inflation right now is because we've weakened the US dollar. That's it. Europe is experiencing that same inflation. Switzerland isn't experiencing that same inflation. It's us. We're doing it to ourselves. So is Bitcoin really an inflation hedge if all that's happening is the dollar is just getting absolutely vaporized by tariffs and poor choices and pissing off our trading partners and the rest of the world? Like, we were back in January, we were at parity with euros 1-to-1. We were at parity. We basically bounced back and forth around parity with euros for the last 23 years. When the euro officially came on board as the currency, it was set out 1-to-1 with dollars. Now, it's gone up and down, and we've been a little stronger. They've been stronger at times, but they're pulling away from us really, really fast. I've been to Switzerland several times in the past few years, and the Swiss franc was pretty much at parity when I travel. Now the Swiss franc is freakishly strong against the US dollar. So it appears that everything outside of the United States is an inflation hedge at this point, because all we're doing is we're absolutely dismantling the US dollar. So that's their goal. They want us broke, injured, or dead. That seems to be the way it goes. So yeah. Like, people are like, Bitcoin $10 million. Yeah, Bitcoin will get to $10 million. But while it's at $10 million, it will also be at like 125,000 euros. So that's one way you can look at it. Like, they're just destroying the US dollar so that we have no purchasing power. And I don't know why they'd want to do that, because our purchasing power is literally what drives their profits and revenue. And if we don't have the income to buy their shit, they don't make any money off of us. So, man, there you go. Okay. Oh, crap. Double intro. Totally just did not. I was yawning. But during while I played the intro the first time, I was yawning really hard. I was trying to get the yawn out of the way before the intro ended, and that's where my brain was. And I just finished right in time for the intro to be over, and then I was like so happy about that I didn't hit the off button. All right. Now it's off. Okay. Man. Thoughts on recent news on Evergrand and UBS? Well, Evergrand is toast. They're done. They got nothing. They're $300 billion in debt. They have a couple $1 billion in property, and that's about it. It's a tale as old as time. Chinese real estate market, which is about 30% of their GDP, was suffering from greater fool theory. So they have a couple things at play. The one-child policy left entire generations with more boys than girls. Meaning, if you're a woman, you have the pick of the litter if you want to mate. And a lot of women look at all the Chinese men and are like, I don't want any of these guys. But if you were a Chinese man and you want any hope whatsoever to like bust a nut or get married, you had to have property. Now, you couldn't afford property where you were living. So if you were in Shanghai or Fujian or Chongqing or whatever, property was too expensive. So you might rent a place and have a tiny little room somewhere or live with your parents. But having property itself, you can say, oh, I have property. You would go out and you would buy something in the hinterlands, right? Something out in the Tules where no one would live and it was cheap, and you could own a piece of property. And big giant companies like Evergrand and Country Garden and whatever else, they would build on this sort of like Bitcoin or another tulips or whatever. Like, they would build crappy buildings in the middle of nowhere that didn't have elevators or doors or windows, electricity. They would build you a ghost city. You could buy a parcel or a townhouse or a condo in one of these things. Not accessible. There's no stairs that go to that floor. Like, you'd buy it and you could tell, someone at a bar, like, oh, I own property over in such and such. I'm a homeowner. And they go, oh my goodness. And then you know that the demand for this is really high, and you can, at some point when you finally land your lady, you can just sell this thing for profit to someone. Well, China ran out of people to sell it to. And so 2021, 2022, the Chinese real estate market just fell off a cliff because there was no one left to buy these things. On the other side of it, Evergrande was building so fast, and the best way for them to raise money was they would take the pre-sales of a project that hadn't been built yet, and they'd use that money to build the project they're building now. And then when everyone moves into that, they present then another project, accept pre-sales for that, use that to pay for the one that just finished doing pre-sales, and you build that, and you just keep going on. Well, again, they ran out of people. They ran out of folks to buy new units, and then they couldn't finish their units, and they had too many construction projects going on, and they were done. The bonds that they sold were largely bought by Western banks. So we're talking, I forget, we found the Bloomberg terminal image a couple of years ago, and it was like, Royal Bank of Canada had like $14 billion in these bonds. I can't remember which other banks, but there are other banks that had as high as like $40 billion in these bonds, but they weren't listing them as losses. Not even as unrealized losses. There's like, oh, we're going to pretend like this is still some value we have for our depositors. And now with the delisting of Evergrande, it's pretty evident that they're never going to get paid. I mean, even the Chinese government in their bankruptcy court was like, foreign investors are not getting paid. We will pay the domestic investors first, and that's it. You foreigners aren't getting shit. So we have several $100 billion in bonds owned largely by banking institutions in Canada, Europe, the United States, and they're gonna have to realize hundreds of billions of dollars in losses on this stuff. So, and that's just one of many Chinese real estate companies who are doing exactly that. Country Garden's doing the same thing. I can't remember the name of all of them, but they're all toast. And yeah, on the UBS side, UBS, in order to keep the entire Swiss banking system from collapsing, UBS went through a special deal with their central bank to purchase Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse was dying because of liabilities in short positions opened by Bill Huang and Archegos. This is one medium-sized family fund. They had $800 million in assets, which is a lot. I mean, I would be stoked to have $800 million in assets, but in the grand scheme of like hedge funds and family funds, not that much. It's a very small amount. Huang basically went to multiple banks. I can't remember all of them, but he went to J.P. Morgan, Nomura, Nordchunken, Credit Suisse, and others. And he would take the $800 million. He'd be like, hey, here's collateral. I want billions of dollars in margin, because you can get up to 30 to 1 margin with a load like that. And so he would go to a Japanese bank, get that money, and he'd take that same collateral and he'd go to Goldman Sachs. Hey, Goldman, give me 31 margin. And they give him that money. He'd go to Credit Suisse. Hey, Credit Suisse, I got $100 million here. Give me that margin. And they weren't talking to each other. So they all assumed they were the sole holders of that collateral. That collateral is being shared amongst, 5 different investment banks. And then Huang made some really horrible put positions and naked short positions, basically, and got obliterated during the sneeze and seized by, liquidated and seized by the government. And the banks that did all right were the ones that immediately margin called him and liquidated. The others had nothing left to liquidate because they got poached. And Credit Suisse was one of those. Credit Suisse had something like $30 billion in liabilities on just Bill Huang and his $800 million. So they weren't going to last anymore because they didn't have any money. And so UBS figured out some sort of way to issue swaps and get this burden put out there into the hinterlands, because no one was understanding what was in those toxic swaps. And now it seems UBS may have run out of trading partners for those swaps. Those swaps are expiring. No one's want to take on the liabilities of them. And so the Swiss government is really worried that there may not be a UBS anymore. Like, they basically just stayed the execution of the Swiss banking industry. But now, who knows what happens? So, yeah, there you go. That's where we are. Tom Bombody 4. I did a little Googling on Enron's cash payout in the case of fraud. Did you know call option holders during the time of fraud were paid out? I did not know that. My January 2023s are looking pretty good. Okay. Nice. Nathan Tyler Scott. Can Trump really sell Alaska? And if so, what in the hell would the U.S. citizens there do? And more importantly, why? What in the worst timeline ever is going on here? I mean, Trump isn't allowed to do a lot of things that he's doing. So he's not allowed to unilaterally levy tariffs against anyone. That is the job of Congress. But Congress is letting him do it, and no one's challenging him. So yeah, he's doing a lot of things. He's not allowed to basically declare states of emergency over things that are an emergency, and then use that as a pretext to launch the National Guard to basically crush local governments and subdue the local populations of cities. But he's doing it anyway. Yeah, there's a lot of things he's not allowed to do that he's doing. So who knows what the hell he's going to be doing with Alaska? He's a definite Dunning-Kruger type person who's surrounded by sycophants and loyalists who are not competent at their jobs. Might be competent at doing evil shit, but they're not competent at being good people or anything else. So there's nobody qualified who's going to be there with Trump in Alaska, where Putin is just going to play him like a marimba. He's quite outmatched by Vladimir Putin on this. Putin has a whole bunch of really evil people who are experts in their fields and will manipulate the hell out of Trump in this case. So, man, I don't know what's going on. Tom Bomdani. Investors were paid out using a formula for calls, even though they expired worthless. Oh. So you're talking about so I had a whole bunch. I don't know, 3,000 call options or something like that over the course of bankruptcy until things were deleted. It'd be nice to get some pay on that. I mean, 3,000 call options, 300,000 shares worth. I wouldn't mind getting paid for that. So, all right, caffeine and ketamine, Houston. Getting those 2007 vibes. The only difference is we've replaced patriotism with unbridled rage at the establishment in the current world. Yeah, that makes sense. There's not much patriotism going on. The flag waving is like getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and to the context of demographics in the U.S. Most Americans are absolutely appalled with what's going on, yet no one has the ability to do anything about it. Like, if we had savings that was more than $300 an adult in this country, because we don't have, if $400 emergency happens, something like 80% of people can't handle it, which means we can't take 2 weeks to have massive protests and freak the fuck out. We can't do it because we'll be dead. We'll lose our house, lose our job, etc. So, it really has to get so bad it becomes a I got nothing left to lose type situation. And there's still a lot of stuff for us to lose before we get there. And that's the sad thing, is that we can lose it all and either freak the fuck out then or lose it all and then that's it. It's over. The Great American Experiment is done. And I think we're more towards the failure of the Great American Experiment than anything else, because we've been so impoverished by the oligarchs who kind of run the show. They got theirs, fuck everybody else. And that's not a good way to run a society. So, here we are. Can I read? Happy birthday, HW. Reverse repo hits the lowest record ever, 28.8 billion. Well, lowest record since COVID, basically, right? That's when we started ramping up, 2021 and so on. Yeah, it shows me that the banks are out of cash, that they have got nothing left that they can put into reverse repo and garner yields. They got nothing left. They got to use that cash because Evergrand's going under, because interest rates are really high, because inflation, because no one has any money, so no one has any savings. So they've been taking money out of their deposits. The deposits are going down. I think the banks are running dry at this point. Kelly Reed also says U.S. July budget deficit came up 20% year over year, and wholesale prices up 0.9% in July. Looks like the budget guy is about to get fired. Yeah. So remember they were bragging about how they had like a budget surplus in June that was like $28 billion, $27 billion. See, we're making money. This is because we had hit the debt ceiling, and we were doing our best not to spend any money. They passed the budget, which has increased the debt ceiling and tacked on another $5 trillion in deficit. And now we're hitting record deficits the month after that budget deal was made. So, yeah, we're looking at probably $3 trillion a year in budget deficits. Basically, we're adding 10% or more to the debt each year, because there's absolutely zero fiscal responsibility in anything that we're doing right now. And I don't know why or how the Republicans always get away with marketing that they're the fiscally responsible party, and yet they crash the economy, and explode the debt every single time they're in charge. Every Democrat since Clinton has reduced the deficit. Every Republican since Reagan has exploded the deficit and caused a recession. No recession has happened under a Democrat in almost 50 years. Since 1988, Republicans have created 1 million jobs when they're president. Democrats have created over 50 million jobs as president. They have about equal time. Let's see here. Bush was 4 years. GW was 4, so that's 12. Or 8, so that's 12. Then you got Trump, who's now at another 4, so 21 years, basically. And Democrats had 2 8-year terms and a 4-year term, so that's 16, that's 20. So it's 20 years versus 21 years, and 50 million jobs versus 1 million. It seems pretty evident that they're full of shit. Vote for me, I'll be fiscally responsible. Explode the deficit, get your ass fired from your job, lose your house. That seems to be what they do really, really well. So why? Why do they get away with pretending like they're the fiscally responsible ones when they're not? So, RV608. Hold up, you saying Democrats since Obama have reduced the debt? Yes. Not reduced the debt, reduced the deficit. Debt and deficit are two entirely different things. They reduced the deficit. Every Democrat, Clinton on up, has reduced the deficit over the previous administration. Every single one of them. Every last one of them. Now, Clinton managed to get a surplus going so that we actually reduce the debt total because we were taking in more money than we were spending. The most fiscally responsible president probably ever. And we were making $200 billion a year profit basically off the U.S. government. That was all ended when the minute Bush wanted to give everybody $300 tax credits. I'm going to give you $300 tax credits. There went the surplus, gone. And then 9/11 happened, and we spent trillions of dollars on war, and then we crashed the economy twice during his administration. And we were at $1 trillion deficits by the time he finished his presidency because he crashed the economy so hard. Obama came in and immediately cut the deficit in half. Just cut the deficit in half. We're at $500 billion deficits. Trump came in, cut taxes again, got back to $1 trillion deficits, fucked up the pandemic response, and we printed more money in like 8 months than we had over the previous 250 years, causing massive inflation, ballooning the deficit incredibly, and Biden cut the deficit in half again when he got into office. And now we're right back to where we were. So, yeah. RV608, by the way, it's Turkish. I don't know why. It does seem to be showing some people's names normally and other people's names not normally. And I don't know how to oops. Okay. Oh. Okay. I did that. Maybe if I click on one of these things. Can I do... What if I do participants? No, that's not what I want. I don't know. I don't know why people's names are suddenly different all of a sudden. You got me, man. You got me. Okay. Where was I? I did... Oh, shoot. Did I just... Oh, no. There we go. Okay. 2007 vibes. Okay. Kelly Reed's thing. There we are. Ooh. Got Jules maybe throwing out some lurker fish in here. Sent out 5 of them. Homer's Ghosts. Osmosize. I've never heard of Osmosize. So there's one. Southern Comfort. Catzilla. And Tomzok. They all got some. So we got at least one out of that. Catzilla? Catzilla one? I don't know if I've got Catzilla before. It might be 2. Maybe a good 40% cast right there. Unless they have a different name I don't recognize. So, yes. Okay. Nathan McKinney, number 9, and there's not much I can do about it. Nope. Seagill. Liquidating my AMC calls into December because they're offering shares to raise money, holding my shares. Yeah, they're going to keep doing that. And the amount of money they raise is like a drop in the bucket compared to how much they owe each time they do this. Like they could have, back when APE was $10 a share, just wiped out their debt with the amount of shares that they've sold since then. But no, they keep selling at like $1.50 and $2 and stuff, and just it's not doing the job. Caffeine and ketamine. Houston. I'm always running some charity shows on Twitch to raise money. This time it's Nintendo Switches 2s they'll be delivering to the local children's hospital if you want, and let me know. Well, fantastic. I don't know your Twitch channel, so send it to me. Naomi Wolf. Oh my God, happy birthday, Houston. And Caffeine Ketamine says, shout out to Dr. Becky Smethurst, everyone's favorite YouTuber astrophysicist, battling breast cancer right now. Oh, a lot of women in my life are battling breast cancer right now. I might be getting to that age where all of a sudden it's popping up, but my Facebook feed, which is where mostly friends in real life are, is just breast cancer diagnosis after breast cancer diagnosis. So, ladies, take care of your tatas. Go get your mammograms. Whatever preventative surgeries you need, all that stuff, get it done. Because some of them, they're like their second or third time now going through this, and it's brutal. One friend of mine, lawyer at a top law firm in the world, has been part of cases that have gone before the Supreme Court, big time. She's on her second or third bout of breast cancer, and as a result, her billing hourlies dropped as she's had surgery and chemo and everything else. And the law firm cut her off of her health insurance because, she's battling cancer. And then she complained, so they fired her. So now she's jobless, battling cancer, single mom, because we're just a stupid system in America. Everything is tied to our goddamn job. And if you don't have a job or you get injured or whatever, you can lose the health care you had. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. I wrote a post yesterday about the Veterans Administration and how the Veterans Administration basically is doomed because they've fired so many people that it's useless. The system isn't working anymore. Just last fall, Veterans Administration, 91.8% of VA hospitals are rated at 4 stars or higher among patient satisfaction surveys. The highest rated hospital system in the United States. Now, you'll hear veterans complain about the VA all the time. Oh, VA. But it makes news when people complain about it, but it has a higher patient satisfaction by over 20 points than any private hospital system in the U.S. In 2014, the Veterans Choice Act got signed by Obama, basically allowing, hey, if you're a veteran and you're at a hospital either far away, like you're far away from a veteran hospital, or the wait times of the hospital is just too much, you can go to a private clinic and cut the line, like get it, hopefully get a shorter wait time and get your treatment done, and the VA will cover it at that private clinic or hospital. And what they discovered was the wait times at private clinics and private hospitals were longer than they were at the VA. So if you can imagine how long a wait is the VA and everyone complains about it, the rest of us have a longer wait time than they do at the VA. Not only that, the VA is the most cost-effective hospital system in America. Less than 1 cent on the dollar goes to administrative overhead because it's nonprofit and it's all done at cost. And their entire goal is to just get you treated, no matter what it is. So effectively, it's a fraction of the price of private insurance, which is really administration heavy. It's very expensive. And it's just further proof that if we just extended this system to everybody else, how much better it would be. Shorter wait times, get treated, done, at cost, comes out of your paycheck in the form of taxes, and that's it. But they're killing the VA because it's too effective, because it's too good at what it does. So they're just going to murder it and fire everybody and let the veterans rot, because they can't have a perfect example of how a universal healthcare system works. And that's it. They're basically going to make it so if you're military, you can either take your pension or take your healthcare. Pick one. And so, so dumb. Anyway, just got off on that tangent. Hotbog Rebel. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think it is that we receive a payout from BBBY? I'm pretty confident. I think there is going to be a payout. I put us towards the 10. How confident am I it's going to happen Monday? Not very. I don't know when it's going to come, but there's more money in the estate than there is liabilities, especially if this IRS tax document is in fact associated with Bed Bath and whoever's taking them on. We think it's GME. And they give away shares to the bondholders instead of cash, then that just frees up $1.5 billion in cash for the shareholders. And whoever's the acquiring company could do all sorts of dastardly things, right? Because the company's bankrupt, you have to once the initial reporting is made as to ownerships in bankruptcy court, you can buy as much as you want and not have to report ownership. So let's say you buy up 100 million shares in July or August of 2023. You don't have to report that. You don't have to report it at all. You can buy up as much as you want. So let's say you buy up 100 million shares. Let's say through Hudson Bay Corporation, you exercise like 400 million warrants and you spend hundreds of millions of dollars and you buy a shitload of shares. And then you just cancel every single one of those because you're not the controlling interest, because you control the dip and the philo. So you're the controlling controller of the entire company. You can decide what the float is after that, right? And you can will that float down to something very small, to just what shares are at AST could be the legit float at that point. And if that's the case, you could be looking at a float of like 15 million shares. So if you have billions and billions and billions of dollars on hand and just 15 million shares that you got to do a payout to from waterfall because you've deleted everything else from existence as the dip and philo control, you can make a huge payout to those shareholders, which would then everyone else who wasn't registered, who had their shares at their brokerage, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, whatever, the PILs of whoever sold those shares naked would be catastrophic. And I'm really hoping this is what they do, that they're able to send out a gigantic payout to Equinity for all people who were registered, and then that forces all the shorts, all the hedge funds, all the market makers, basically having to reach in their pockets and pull out hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars to take care of this thing. And that forces just a cascade of chaos throughout the entire financial market as prime brokers are forced to margin call and liquidate and dip into insurance packages, and the DTCC freaks out. And this is the thing. This is the type of thing that would have to happen in order to actually see a change in the rules so that it can never happen again. If you make that shot so just an atomic bomb, wiping out Hiroshima, Nagasaki type level, where you force people to the table to go, okay, I've had enough, then there you go. That's what's needed. You can't be friendly about it. You have to do the most brutal thing you possibly can, and I'm really hoping that's what it is. Even if it's mediocre, it'll still be catastrophic, probably on levels that we've never seen before. But man, it'd be nice to wake up one day, open my app, see millions of dollars in there, and go, cool, it's happening, and then go out and purchase, 100,000 in the money GameStop calls and watch it just go absolutely bonkers. Right, monkey butt? Right. Floor dog. Okay. Gotta read. Goldman now owns an additional 3.2 million shares of GME. This looks like the scene that sets up the scene where Michael Burry is calling the banks, but they won't price his swaps correctly. Is that they were changing their positions behind the scenes and selling their dog shit positions to the general public. Oh, that's happening like crazy right now. They're trying to get the public on board with all the dog shit wrapped in cat shit that they have, and a lot of them are eating it up. I mean, you can go to investor message boards and they're like, my 401k is awesome, whoa! But you can also go back to those same message boards in, I don't know, August 2007 or something, and like, my 401k is awesome, whoa! Right? So the bubble's popping. The Buffett indicator is 200%. So we're 200% above the GDP of the US just in the stock value of all the stock being traded. It's not sustainable. There's not enough money for this. It is a bubble. It is a giant bubble, and it will pop. I just don't know the date it's going to. The tariffs are not making it easy. The fact that the reverse repo is at critically low levels at the moment is signaling these banks are toast. We know that UBS is trouble. We know that Nordtrunken's in trouble. We know that Bank of America in 2023 almost collapsed. So there's a lot teetering on the brink here. Darren Martinez, 502. Did you catch Newsom's announcement of redistricting California and thoughts towards the Trump administration? What are your thoughts? Oh, every Democratic state needs to, if Texas goes through with this, needs to just absolutely brutally redistrict and make it mutually assured destruction. Because what happens is the Democratic states go, redistricting is wrong. We want fair districting. So we're going to set an example for everyone and show you how to make fair district proportionment. And the Republicans are like, screw you, we're gerrymandering. And each election, Republicans for House and Senate get fewer votes than Democrats, even if the Republicans have the majority. So Newsom is just calling their bluff. Newsom's a complete psychopath. He really is. He is a psycho, and I don't trust him. But at least he's a psycho who's willing to fight. And I guess we need our own cluster B versus their cluster B in the end. Virginia sounds like they're on board, that they're going to redistrict out all the Republican seats in their state, which would gain like 6 or 7 seats, something like that. I think Pritzker in Illinois is willing to do it as well. We'll hear about probably New York and the rest of the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, see what happens there. So yeah, it's a mutually assured destruction. If you want the Republicans to agree upon, fair districting, nonpartisan districting, you're going to have to make them hurt. That's the only thing to listen to, because you can't negotiate with a rabid dog. You just can't. And what's funny is that the Republicans are celebrating the redistricting in Texas, and they're all like, it's unfair what Newsom's going to do in California. Well, yeah, that's the point, dumbass. So, learn the lesson. Lisa Saw. I was searching flights for a trip to Asia. 2 transit options came up, Riyadh or LA. Which one is likely to violate human rights more? What's LA? What airline is that? Malaysian Airlines? Lufthansa? Lufthansa? Luftwaffe? I've never flown Riyadh, and I don't know what LA is, so I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I don't know how much human rights violations go into air travel. Never really thought about it. I just kind of assume air travel is pretty straightforward. You got baggage handlers, you got mechanics, you got pilots, you got flight crew. I don't think anyone is famous for having slave labor run any of those things, even if they try to quash union participation and whatnot. So I don't know enough information about that. 1,000 apologies. Brandon Wells, sub BBBY, sub No Labs. No Labs, someone said that No Labs is changing their name. I did not get a press release about that. Won't be the first time. They were Vigilant and they changed it to No Labs after they went beyond visual light stuff. I don't know. BBY, we're just twiddling thumbs. Frozen Productions. How long will it take for all the continents to reconnect into a single Pangea? At the rate that, well, let's look at a map. Let's open the Google Earth and we'll just kind of eyeball it here. Okay, there's Google Earth. I'm gonna leave Bainbridge. Whoop, wrong way. Come on, back out. Okay, so the last time we had a supercontinent was when the Atlantic Ocean was closed. So look at the Atlantic Ocean here. It's a big fella, right? It is. Where's my thingy here? In miles. Okay, so between, oops, like that. There we go. Okay, so from one side to the other, 3,748 miles. Okay, 3,748. I'm gonna pop my little calculator up here. Where are you, calculator? There you are. So it's 250 million years. 250 million years. Or sorry, whoops, wrong way. I do 3,748. Shit, I forgot what it was. 3,748. We'll call it that. Divided by 250 million. That gets us 0.00014,992. Okay, so we're going to times that by 5280, which gets us to about 0.79 feet a year. So about an inch. About an inch a year do the continents separate from each other. Okay, so let's measure this giant, vast Pacific here. So probably do it the widest point, right? So from here to, well, probably that subduction zone right there, because this will be an island arc chain by then. So we're at 7,937. Okay. So that, nope, that guy, not clear. 0.401492. Sorry, I got like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1492 times, divided by times 7,900. I forgot what the number was. No, I was divided by shit. Did the wrong way. Crap. So 0.0001492 divided by, oh, I did the wrong way. 7,900 divided by 0.0001492. That's what I wanted. Boom. 529 million years. About 530 million if you round up. There you go. So 530 million years. This will smack into that, and we will have ourselves another supercontinent. Not too shabby, you know. I won't be around to see it, but then we'll have a really, really big Atlantic Ocean that will take up like an entire hemisphere, and climate will be really different. And Hawaii will get smushed in the middle, so we'll have some sort of super volcano going off, kind of Yellowstone style in the middle of all that, because Hawaii will get swallowed. It'll be interesting. Yeah, fun stuff. Okay. Don't shit him. Hey, sorry I've been MIA moderator. My schedule is annoying. Nonetheless, I never miss a show and appreciate all you do. You're a good man. Well, thank you, Don. I'm glad you're here. I don't know. I wonder how many active moderators I actually have right now. I deputize a lot of folks. Some have just kind of disappeared over the years. I know one guy, I think his son had died and things got really bad for him. And I think he kind of just stopped paying attention to the movement because life happens, and I get it. But I don't know. I have no idea how many active moderators I have at the moment. You guys show up and you seem to take care of things, so thank you for that. My cat is yelling at me. Cat, I have like a few minutes left and then I gotta go, so come on, dummy. That's right, bother the dog. Meow. Okay, there he is. Testes. 1, 2, 1, 2. Not sure. I'm gonna play you like a guitar or maybe like a bagpipe. Yep. Okay. Where was I? Did Lisa saw? I did. Brandon Wells did. Frozen State. Homer's Ghost was first. No, you were not. Lisa saw. Fat Jab Munjaro to raise prices in the UK because Trump complained. Guess people will have to try to lose weight through lifestyle sacrifices. I don't know what any of those words meant. He meant to send me a link so I can read that. Christopher Senatore. Does Trump take us into a new dark age of illegal pedophile and stolen education after whitewashing the Smithsonian historical history? Yes. I mean, it's what Putin did. Putin got in charge. He completely changed the context of any historical act that happened in that country to benefit whatever his directive of propaganda was. And Trump's going to do the same thing with Smithsonian. Like, Smithsonian Magazine's toast. Smithsonian museums are going to be just trash. There'll be sycophants, people who are too scared to say otherwise working there. And it's just going to be propaganda measure after propaganda measure is what we're going to be looking forward to basically forever. And I don't know how much the American public is actually going to respond to it because his policies are really, really unpopular. So it'll take a lot to sort of brainwash everybody. I think the biggest problem the U.S. is going to have is the brain drain that's the result of these policies, because the research and development that comes out of the brainiacs we draw from around the world, and the fact we spent historically so much money, federal dollars, on research for these things that created huge industries, massive companies, life-saving medications and medical technologies, and we're just giving it all up. And so the best and brightest who want to do cool shit with their lives, they're going to leave and go to the nations that give them the funding to do that. There's a NHS program in for like a 2-year research grant for Americans, and they accept 50 people a year to go live for 2 years, do medical research in the UK. They got something ridiculous, like 1,000 applicants per position this year, because so many labs had closed that the UK scraped together as much money as they could, and they upped it to 200 people getting those grants now. They wish it could be more. And it's not just like, oh, it's a postdoc who's going to come do research as it was before. It's like people who ran labs for 20 or 30 years for the NIH. Like, these are world-class people who have, 200 papers written. They've been cited 50,000 times. Like, these are big shit scientists who are brain draining out of the United States and going elsewhere. So I don't know what these companies are expecting to get out of all this, but they're going to lose the best and brightest. They're going to lose the best and brightest kids as they also move overseas. Our universities can't fund the research for PhDs anymore. I have a former student who I convinced to go to UH Hilo, who's graduate top honors this year. She had her PhD application or acceptance to, I can't remember which university she went to. She was going to, I think it was a California school. Basically get rescinded. Be like, sorry, we lost the budget. Feel free to apply again next year if we have the money. And the stories I'm getting out of other students are a lot of graduate acceptances are being rescinded because the budget's gone. So these next generations of nerds, they're not going to have the credentials they need to be the nerds they need to be in the settings they need it, because the money's just gone. I taught, when I first started teaching at the college level, my students were No Child Left Behind students, and they were dumb as shit. If you're a No Child Left Behind kid in here, I feel sorry for you. You're probably not reading the chat right now because you can't read. That's basically what I got from the No Child Left Behind kids from the Bush administration. And over the 10 years I taught, I started getting the Obama era kids who had increased funding, less standardized testing, and they were much better students, much better. So we're going to give ourselves generation upon generation of morons who can't function because we cut all the things out of society that made society good. We cut the after school programs, we cut the Head Start programs, we cut the scientific research, we cut the sports programs and art programs, and we force kids to do crappy standardized rote memorization. We usher them all into just using AI, and none of them have any brains that work anymore, and they're going to suffer AI psychosis and everything else. Their little brains are going to shrink, and that's where we are. So, meh. Anywho, I gotta get going here. I can do one more, and then I gotta run away. Okay, did that one. Olga Zlotsky, Houston. The tax free deadline for Sears to distribute assets is the 31st of January 2026. Let's hope Transforms merge with Land's End and Transform Properties with Seritage Growth Properties, SRG. Hell yes. It is already the longest bankruptcy in American history. They've got something ridiculous. They have like $18 billion in cash on hand and like only a few $100 million in liabilities left. Their offshores, like the Sears Reinsurance, has over $35 billion in cash on hand. They've got the goods, man. So just do it already. Just pay us from every direction. Ugh. So, yeah. We'll leave it at that. Fat cat. Bloop. 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 Blink. Oh, yeah. You guys have a great day. I'll catch you tomorrow. Cool? Right on. How about one more intro? Because 3's a charm.